Thank you for joining me here in my studio. A very good friend of mine in Dallas, Texas, passed away in 2011, but his name is Roland Steele. Pete Rude. Pete did very nice music and was a pleasure to work with. And I invited Pete to our wedding reception, and he brought a friend with him, and that was Roland Steele. And Roland is Little People. I think he was part of the Little People of America, and just one of the most talented people I think I've ever met. Wonderful personality, fun to be around. He was born with several handicaps, but music was obviously the strongest part of his life. He, at my sister's house, we had a Kauai grand piano, and Pete asked if it was okay for Roland to play on that Kauai Grand at my sister's house. And I said, sure, it's fine by me. And unusual, as small as he was and small as his fingers and hands were, he had some birth defects, the way his thumbs grew. And I said, sure, you're welcome to play the piano. And I mean, within 10 minutes, the entire household was around that piano listening to Roland play, all of which were amazed at what they were seeing and hearing. We became friends after then, Roland, and I'd see him several times. He came to a couple of the concerts that I was doing in Dallas. I invited him down to see Jackson Browne, and after the show, I took Roland back to meet Jackson Browne. Interesting thing is when I brought Roland backstage to introduce him to Jackson, they just connected immediately and was chatting away. And I know it's quite some time that they kept communicating with one another. Jackson was very complimentary in Roland's achievements and what he had done musically. This little guy could play guitar, keyboards, drums. I remember Roland telling me that when he was younger, that he had a paper route, and his main reason of having the paper route was to make some money that he could eventually buy a set of drums. He told me that at night he would be thinking about those drums when he laid down, take him right on into dreams about how he would lay his drum kit out once he was able to afford them from his paper route work. After a time period, he was raised enough money to buy his drum kit, and from intensely and nightly visualizing the way the drums would be set up. And he said when he eventually got them, that he just set them up the way he always visualized it, and he sat down to them and played them. Kick drum pedal had to be elevated, hi-hat. His guitar, if you watch his videos, he would have it on a pedestal. The Stratocaster that he played on, that's about the height of Roland. And he would lay it flat, and then he would play, and he had to hold the pick between these fingers because his thumb wouldn't allow him to hold it the way most of us hold a pick. But he played really interesting solos, lead work, chords. Just simply amazing to watch this man play. Donovan, who very famous musician, entertainer from the Beatles and Bob Dylan and his incredible history, came through Dallas and was playing a show. In fact, Rick Babb, a very good friend of mine, was production manager for the show that Donovan was playing there. He was playing all week long, and he was having some audio issues when he first set his show up. So Rick gave me a call, asked me if I'd come down. I was nearby, and went down and met Donovan. Wonderful person. Worked on his guitar sound for the show. After the show, I really enjoyed Donovan's performance. He was just great in the songs that he had written years before and currently, and telling us little shorts about working with the Beatles. And well, after the show, I went back and I just said, I really enjoyed it. Is there anything else I can do for you? And he said, yeah, for sure. And he was there for the remainder of the week. He still had 4 more nights. And I says, well, what do you do during the day? And he said, well, I just kind of sit in my hotel room. I says, well, I've got a studio, it's just 15 minutes away, and I'll be glad to come get you, and we could just jam, play some music if you'd like. And he said, I'd love that. I was blown away. I said, sure. So the next day, picked up Donovan, brought him to my house, which at that time period, my studio equipment was in my home. We started working on a song, so I put together a little rhythm track. Donovan and I both put together a little rhythm track. Donovan played guitar. As I remember, I played guitar as well, drums, and then Donovan laid down a couple of vocals. And then it was coming together very nicely, the song. And so Donovan said, we need some keyboards on this. And I went, I've got somebody that can come play keyboards for this. Now, Donovan had never met Roland Steele. He said, sure, call him up. So I did. I called up Roland. Here he came over. He drove over to my house in his, I think it was a 59 Buick, brake pedals and accelerator and all of that modified, where he could drive it. But it seemed like the biggest car on the street at the times. But Roland had no problem with it. He got there at my house, and I introduced him to Donovan. And I think Donovan was very surprised. He certainly liked the person he was meeting, but I think he was thinking the same thing as, this is the piano player? And yes, it is. Okay. So we go into the studio. They hit it off great between the two of them, Donovan and Roland, and started playing. And Roland asked him, what do you want me to do? And he said, no, just some block cards, the piano fills. It's like the first and second take, Roland was already locked into the song and putting some very nice tracks down. And I remember walking into my kitchen, because we're at my house, to make some coffee, and Donovan followed me into the kitchen, and he said, I watch Roland very closely with my eyes and his teeny little fingers, and he says, what I hear does not match up with what I see. And I say, that's exactly the way I look at this too. The big sound that Roland would achieve on the piano while viewing his handicap was amazing. Roland loved music. He loved music, loved assembling music. I think he had, with his mother, he told me that they had shot 4 videos. This is back in VHS days. I'd say roughly it was around 1985. And it was quite interesting to watch him play and see this musical ability come out of such a determined person. I played his music for Pat Benatar's band, several others who all just were moved by it. I mean, that such musical ability to come out of with such handicap, overcoming that handicap. I always admired Roland for that. And he had the nicest personality, the sweetest personality. It was just fun to be around. Loved to be funny and have fun. And I know that a lot of the times he was in pain, couldn't do certain things. He couldn't tour. He made an impact on my life, very, very big. And to conquer disabilities and to be able to enjoy the things that he was gifted with, and did an amazing job of that. The encounter with Donovan, to kind of back up what I was believing and seeing Roland do, was really heartwarming for me as well. It was a pleasure working with those guys in the studio. We had a great time. I have no idea what the recordings are. Thank you very much. Just want to share that story with you, and please go to Roland's website and check out a few of his videos. Thank you very much for taking the time I appreciate it. Thank you again.